Hello, and welcome to Stories from the View, a podcast from the Pleasant View Senior Center in East Longmeadow, Massachusetts. On this podcast, we invite East Longmeadow residents to tell us stories about their lives and events, and today's guest is Preston Robert Wallace, better known as Bob Wallace, who was chief of the fire department. Chief Wallace is here to talk to our host today, Mary Jenowyn Kaplan.
Thank you, Eric, and good morning, Chief. How are you?
Good morning. I am fine, thank you.
Okay, we've already had our first reveal. Everyone in town knows Bob Wallace, and now they know you have an alter ego as Preston Robert Wallace.
Right.
So it's kind of a cool story, if you wouldn't mind just sharing a little bit how you got that fancy name.
Yep, my first name is Preston. It's my mother's maiden name, and they, her parents, my grandparents, are from Bestbrook, Ireland. And when I was a little young lad, Preston was too big of a word for me, so I've been Bob forever.
You heard it here first, folks. Thank you very much. That is great. So I understand you were born way across the river in Agawam.
Yep.
What brought you to East Longmeadow?
Yeah, my parents moved from Springfield, once married, Chicopee, then to Agawam. That's where I was born, and got married in Agawam. And I wanted to just get into a bigger area, bigger land, just to get out of Agawam. And nothing against Agawam. And we looked at a house in East Longmeadow and been there since 1970.
It's a great town.
Yeah. Very, very nice. I love it. I would never leave here.
Excellent. Great. We're happy to hear that. And so when did you get involved? Tell us about your careers. You've done quite a few things in your life.
I started when I went to Agawam High School, graduated, went to Bridgeton Academy, graduated, and then I went to Wentworth Institute for one semester. I enlisted in the Army National Guard. I thought I was going to be finishing school, but I enlisted, and I had to leave school because they said we have to go to Fort Dix. And I got into construction field. My dad worked for Adams and Ruxton Construction. So I worked for him for like 18 years. But in the meantime, when I was in Agawam, I was in the call department from 65 to 69.
The fire department, volunteer?
Volunteer, yeah. It was, volunteer, exactly. Then when I moved to East Longmeadow in November 70, July 1st, 71, I talked to Forrest Goodrich. Great guy. One of the best. And I was appointed July 1, 1971 to East Longmeadow.
And were you still a volunteer then? Or
yes,
was it
I was still on call because I was still working in construction. And then in 1982, I decided that I was at the max as a yard foreman at Adams and Ruxton. I decided I want to go full-time fire. So I went with I think there was 8 fellows going against it, and I was fortunate to get appointed. So I went full-time in 1982.
And our force was much smaller then.
Yeah, there was 7 regulars, and I think there was like 32, 33 call firefighters.
And do we still have call firefighters, do you know?
No, we're 100%. Chief Morissette, there's no more call. It's 100% career fire department, 7 firefighter paramedics on duty, and they're 24 hours on, 24 hours off. There's a variant shift, but no more call firefighters.
And so what's the difference from when you started as a full-time firefighter to when you retired? What changes did you see?
When I retired from the fire department?
Yes, sir.
Well, like I said, they're now around the clock, and they run the ambulance. We didn't have an ambulance at the time. We had private ambulance service. Now they're running ambulances, and it's staffed 24/7, so there's no more tones or waiting for firefighters to come in and get on the truck. They're manned all the time.
And so when the alarm is sounded, they go right into action.
Right. Yep, they're already on duty. They're either in the ambulance, in a fire apparatus, or at the station.
And it's wonderful, I think, to have our own ambulance service in town.
Yes.
It's very helpful for those of us who are older. And I live in a senior community, and I think we're fine customers of that service. But it also provides some income for our town, which is really needed.
Very, very money-making it is. And we've got an older town. A lot of people don't know all the nursing homes we have, the senior citizens, the assisted living, and like ourselves, we still live in our own homes, and we're all getting elderly, and they're ready to go.
Over 30% of our residents are senior citizens. So that's we're a mighty and silver force.
Still ticking.
That's a good. You're absolutely right. Absolutely. So tell me, when you were fire chief, you had to present to our old town meetings and talk to the residents. And so you must have met a lot of people and had a lot of experiences helping folks in our town.
The biggest problem or the biggest challenge was the budget. I mean, it's like every department head has the same responsibilities, but just to justify that you need for vehicle repair, for manpower, for new equipment, replacement equipment, training galore, and just to justify your budget. And then after you get your budget, you have 12 months to try to stay within the budget. That was the biggest challenge. I didn't have any women at the time. Just the firefighters I had, outstanding. And the majority were call, and they were all professionals somewhere else working their job. And we used to have the pagers, and when they went off, everybody just dropped everything, and they came out of the woodwork.
What a wonderful spirit of volunteerism.
Exactly.
And support for our town.
Exactly.
From those folks.
Yep.
Absolutely. Now, for those who don't know, you would think firefighting is firefighting. But there have been a lot of changes. I mean, recently I know in the news there was talk about chemicals in the fire safety equipment. In those days, did you even know?
No.
There was just had your safety equipment.
When I first got on here, we had rubber boots, rubber coats, rubber gloves, and metal helmets.
How does that work in a fire?
It didn't work very well. And now everything is, we have all Nomex hoods and all the firefighting gear, full turnout pants, the boots, gloves, Scott air packs, thermal imager. Just find out, you go in the building, you can see. And now that's what's coming forward since I've been retired is the chemicals that are getting impregnated into the firefighting gear that's actually affecting the firefighter. So there's a new law, and I'm not really up to speed on it, what they're doing to cleanse the clothes. So major changes. And you think of fire as like right now, the red flags are all up, the brush fires and so forth. But we were the jaws of life, vehicle extrication, ice rescue. You have to put the Gumby suit on, jump in the water, rescue somebody who falls through. And we have hazardous material. We have now hazmat teams throughout, the chemicals. Chemicals, it could be in your own home that you don't even know that it's hazardous. So the responsibility of the fire department, firefighters now, is just increased, tenfold.
So it's not only the danger of fire, but it's all of these other implications.
The unknown.
Perhaps your your training at Wentworth and your work in construction helped you with some of this equipment early on, because it's pretty fancy.
The best part of the construction field, a lot of people, you have to be mechanically minded, I guess I can say. You have to know the structure. If you have to cut that wall, is there an electric cable behind the wall? If you cut the beam, is the ceiling going to fall on your head? So you have to, put foresight in before you take any action. You have to know exactly what your plan of attack is going to be.
You were preparing, even though maybe you didn't know you were preparing during that early training.
The worst part of the unknown is when you're in the vehicle and you're responding. There's no such thing as every incident is exactly the same. Every incident is different. And so everybody's multi-trained on, you're the ladder firefighter today, tomorrow you're on the tip going in to put the fire out, tomorrow you're in the woods putting the brush fire out, tomorrow you're running the jaws, tomorrow you're cleaning up a hazmat.
Well, and our media is very misleading. If we look on TV shows, they have all the architectural drawings of these facilities. I'm guessing you don't have that opportunity usually.
Yes and no. The incident commander usually has a floor plan, not of normal structures, but they always take tours. We'll go to Milton Bradley, which is now Cartamundi, Lenox, American Saw, and we find out where it is. We have to know where the standpipe is to connect the hydrant to fire for the standpipes for the sprinklers, where the exits are, where people are going to evacuate, and where they're going to meet to get a head count. So there is a lot of pre-planning that we don't just show up and say, okay, let's see what's in this building. Most of the major structures have already been pre-planned, so if and when there's an event, we know who to go to, where to meet, where to stage, and what to do.
You're an outgoing, friendly, personable guy. So I'm going to guess that the community component of your work was a good thing for you. You must have enjoyed meeting all of the people in all the corners of our town.
One of the best organizations I joined right after I became chief, and I was there 16 and a half years, perfect attendance, was the Rotary.
Rotary.
Those folks are just absolutely amazing, and there's probably 4 or 5 people that I believe are still involved when I was there, and obviously a lot of new people since I've been gone.
Absolutely. And here in our podcast, we've had Jimmy Rintoul and several other Rotarians because they're still a pretty integral part of our town.
And Jimmy Rintoul was a call lieutenant on the department for, I'm going to say, at least 30 years.
Well, I think that's part of his podcast, too. He told some other stories from long ago that were kind of fun also. That's just great. Now, you were chief for how many years?
16 years.
And now you're retired for how many years?
17 years.
How do you like retirement?
Just look in the dictionary next to retirement, and there's my name. I love it.
And how do you keep yourself busy? Because I know you're still active.
Yeah, everybody's telling me, mainly my kids, slow down. I'm heavily involved in the American Legion, heavily involved with the Elks, and I'm on the firing detail at the Agawam Veterans Cemetery. And I do all the military honors. Not everyone. There's like 20 of us, and obviously we can't do them all. I've got my other commitments as family and so forth. But I'm probably over there 4 out of 5 days, and we can do. There's available of 6 services a day, 30 services a week. They're not all full, and if they're a spouse, we don't do military honors unless they're a veteran. So by the time, if I had a 10 and 11, I'd leave at 9. Then you do the 10, you do the 11, and I'm home at 12. So there's 3 hours for 40 minutes of services. But I love it. It's just all volunteer. And it's just before you know it, it's like the week's gone.
I have attended several services at the Veteran Cemetery, and it is simple. Yeah. It is dignified.
They are beautiful events,
moving.
Just beautiful events. Yeah.
That's a wonderful volunteer commitment.
I'm starting November 24th. I'm starting my 13th year there, and it's really. I want to be careful how I say this. It's very, it could be a pain, meaning in the winter, you're freezing in the snowstorm. In the summer, this summer here, it was brutal humidity. But when you're standing on the tee and you're looking in the window and you see either the casket or the urn of the veteran, that's why you and I are sitting here free for that person. So well worth it. So I'm just honored to be part of the team.
That moment in the service when the flag was handed in one situation, my family, to the youngest grandson, there wasn't a dry eye in that beautiful little chapel. It was just very, very moving.
Exactly.
Fabulous. So you have your veterans organizations. You have a family.
Yes.
Are they pretty much in town, or?
I have 4 daughters. I'm not going to give you any ages here because I used to right off the hand I could tell you, but I can't do it anymore.
Well, we don't want your daughters don't need you to oust them here. This is fine.
4 girls. I have 1 grandson who just got married 2 weeks ago. He just came back from his honeymoon. I have 7 granddaughters. I have a great grandson who's 4. I can say that name and his age, and a great granddaughter who turned 1.
The greats are the best, right?
And that granddaughter, who's mother of the great grandkids, her husband is at Fort Campbell's in Special Forces. So they're down there, and my oldest daughter is married to an airman. He's a senior master. He's at Andrews Air Force Base. So hopefully when they're done with the service, whatever, otherwise everybody else is here, between here and Enfield.
Everyone looks forward to having families close to home, but it sounds like you've got a great crop there.
During this wedding 3 weeks ago now, it was the first time our entire family got together because everybody's at different places and different times.
But it's so wonderful when folks can make the time, have the opportunity to gather.
Actually,
special moments Special moments. So, in addition to all of your veteran services, you're also part of the program to get a Veterans Memorial here in our town.
Correct.
Right on the front lawn of our very own Pleasant View Senior Center. Tell us how that's going.
Well, we started it. I believe I'm not positive. It's either 5 or 6 years. We're into it, and like everything else, COVID killed us. Terry Glusko, who's our chairman, is above and beyond. I don't know how he does all he does. And it's going to be on the front lawn. It's going to be about 90 by 90. It's in the front lawn of the Senior Center. And it's going to have the stones for World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and war and terrorism. And there'll be names of all I believe there's 23 or 24 now. They were from East Long Meadow, killed on active duty. Their names will be there with the definition of all the wars. We'll have a little memorial benches in there. We'll have the 6 flags of the services with the bollards with the medallions on top. We're very close. Our goal right now is to April, May, June of 2025 is to break ground. We're having fundraisers. We just had one at the Elks, motorcycle runs. We've done the celebrity bartenders at Mario's. Well, we're doing our best, but it's everybody's. The dollar is very tight. So hopefully, the way things are going, we just got $125,000 from the state, so that was a big kick. So hopefully, within 6 months plus or minus, we're going to be breaking ground, and then hopefully by maybe this time next year, we'll be ready to cut the ribbon.
That is so exciting.
Yeah.
For our podcast listeners, refer to the picture because Chief is wearing his red Veterans Memorial golf shirt. And also, we can support the Veterans Memorial by buying the bricks,
Right.
correct?
Right.
For servicemen. I know we've purchased for our family.
You can talk to Terry Glusko. He's at the Senior Center. I believe I'm going to just say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or you can get a hold of him, or you can make a donation to the East Long Meadow Veterans Memorial Fund at People's Bank. And any donation, you can have a brick. You don't have to be a veteran to purchase a paver. You can just say thank you, veterans, or anything you'd like to put on it, and that would support us. And the more bricks sold, there'll be all the bricks and the pavers will be displayed right at the memorial.
Well, and historically speaking, Terry Glusko and Al Michaels were our very first podcast guests, talking about their veteran service and also about Memorial. And I'm glad you're here during this time as we're getting close to Veterans Day.
And Terry Glusko, 2 days ago, was just the Veteran of the Year for the Springfield Lodge of Elks. He did a fantastic 20-minute speech on freedom. Unbelievable. You could have heard a pin drop. And he is so into it. He's retired Senior Master Sergeant in the Air Force. And he is so into it. He's got our memorial so tight-knit together. There's not a dot, an I that's not dotted or T that's crossed.
He will also be speaking tonight, I believe, at the Veterans Dinner
5 o'clock.
here at Pleasant View. And I look forward to attending because every year I learn something. He's a great speaker. He doesn't talk long, but it's just full of information and leaves you. You want to jump to your feet and applaud.
Right.
How wonderful to hear about your service, though, Chief, for our town. What's the best thing you like about East Long Meadow? It's a big question, sorry.
Yeah, no, just the people. I live in Kibbe Road, and just the people, the neighbors. It's got everything you need, instead of going to, I don't want to say the big box stores, but Rockies. I like spending local. I like to keep everything in town. I like to go to local restaurants, the little pizza shops, the Fazio's, the Donardo's. I love Mario's, the Villa, Napolitano. Just, try to stay within the town. And a lot of friends in town. We have our local Legion, which I belong to, and all the neighbors. We still have a group of about 22 of us retired from the fire department. We meet once a month down at the country diner down in Enfield. We have a nice little breakfast at 9 o'clock, and everybody tells the war stories and what have you done the last month, and mainly about right now, not to be funny, but it's what aches and pains do you have this week?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, it's the organ recital, all of our organs that are having problems. Absolutely. I think our theme is then community, and
Yes.
that you're an integral part of what weaves us together here in our little town of 16,000 people.
I have two sisters. One lives in St. Augustine, the other one lives in Jupiter. And nice place to visit, but I have no desire to move anywhere. I mean, I just love it here. And we've spent the last 4 or 5 years, we've done our house over and updated. And my oldest daughter wanted to know where we're going. I said, well, eventually to the cemetery, but not yet. We're not moving. But it's just like it. Everybody, it's friendly. It's close enough, far enough from everything. The airport, Springfield. It's just we just love it here.
And you're right, though. We have our supermarkets,
Right.
we have some small businesses, and we have lots of good people.
Right. Definitely, absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming and being our guest today.
I appreciate it. Thank you for the invite. And like I said, to everybody out there, see a veteran, thank a veteran.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you so much for being here today. So that wraps up another episode of Stories from the View. We'd like to thank Chief Bob Wallace, Preston Robert Wallace, for being here today. The Stories from the View podcast, it's available on the LCAT 01028 channel on YouTube, and we're also on Spotify. If you have a story you'd like to share on the program, contact Pleasant View Senior Center Director Aaron Kobler by stopping by the Pleasant View Senior Center or by calling Aaron at 413-525-5436, extension 1401. Or you can send Aaron an email, aaron.kobler@eastlongmeadowma.gov. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Stories from the View.